When was the last time you took a leap of faith, trusting that everything is going to work out? Do you crave growth, or are you merely content with the status quo? If you want more out of your life, out of your career, and out of your relationships, you are in the right place. Take the leap and discover how to create a life by design rather than living it by default. Real success starts with you. Now here's your host, Colleen Biggs.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode with Colleen Biggs. This is Take the Leap. I'm so excited. We had a little technical difficulties, but don't you worry about it. I can figure anything out. Everything's figure-outable, right? We've read that book. We all know about it. And I persevere until I get it done. And today I have Reverend Cheryl Brewster with us today. We're going to be diving into how to hone your intuition. This is something that God gave us that many of us ignore, and we think we have to get all of our advice from the outside. So she has practiced pretty much her entire life on how to hone in your intuition. And she's going to be diving into that with us very soon. But before we get to Cheryl and for her to share all of her wisdom and goodness, I would like to thank our sponsor for today's podcast, No Problem Parenting. Are you frustrated with your kids? Do you constantly worry about them? Or maybe you're just sick and tired of dealing with misbehaviors in your home. Well, have no fear. No Problem Parenting is here to help you turn any emotional or behavioral problem into a no problem while strengthening your relationship with your kids at the same time. You don't have to be the bad guy to get your kids to behave. Join the No Problem Parenting community where you will find down-to-earth, practical, fun, no-nonsense tips and ideas for how to deal with and overcome any parenting challenge. Go to noproblimparenting.com and get started now. Become the confident leader your kids crave to be. And congratulations to Jackie Finneman, our sponsor today, who just released her first book, No Problem Parenting. So make sure you go over to Amazon and check that out as well. Okay, now we get to our guest, Cheryl Brewster. After a successful corporate career, Cheryl followed her calling and founded The Intuitive Life in 2004. Combining her professional expertise with her intuitive gifts, she taught clients how to trust their own intuition to improve results in business and in life. Through her own life challenges, Cheryl discovered the secret to transforming the grip of limiting beliefs into radical peace and empowerment. She's legally ordained as a minister of metaphysics, board certified as an NLP practitioner, timeline therapist, and hypnotist. And she supports thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and organizations through her signature breakthrough programs, intuitive Akashic consultations, individual mentoring, and group masterminds. Cheryl, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Colleen. It's good to be here.
It's exciting because I haven't seen you in a while. Cheryl has come and trained with my clients, which they absolutely loved because you got them totally out of their comfort zone and they loved it. And everybody in the room was crying, as well as I've worked with Cheryl as my personal coach in keeping me connected to my intuition and connected to God and spirit. And I mentioned in your bio that through your own life challenges, so let's go back and roll it back because the life challenges that we have are really set there by God to get us onto the path for us to be able to impact others. So what were those life challenges you went through, Cheryl, if you don't mind sharing, that really were so significant that brought you to where you are today?
Sure. Life challenges is how we grow. And one of the concepts that I teach is that life happens for me, not to me. Mm-hmm. So back in the day, the biggest life challenge that really happened to me was when I had this calling to follow intuition, because it was kind of outside the scope of what I'd been raised with. And it challenged everything. It challenged my faith. It challenged how I felt about my church, my upbringing. It challenged everything. And so it was very upsetting for me, which was literally my angst with God. Why are you doing this to me? Why is this happening to me? And through that, I discovered a deeper relationship with God, with the universe, with this essence of being. So that's what really, that was the most significant thing. From there, it was all about trust. And the whole idea of trust is to know the inner genius of yourself, that God aspect within you. So here we are, fast forward, as business leaders, we go into the uncertainty, we grapple with things not working out, and we begin to question ourselves. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened to me about 10 years after I made the switch from corporate to following my calling. It was amazing. I loved it. It was like rock and roll. And then my son had a critical illness. And Colleen, it brought me to my knees. I have no words to describe what happened to me over the course of a couple of years, but this one thing that I will always rely upon is that God will never put us in a situation where there is not a benefit. There is always something to learn and grow from. And that's exactly what happened. My son is a constant inspiration to me. And I take that into my work with thought leaders, with caregivers, with educational institutions, because resilience has a cycle to it. And when we understand the cycle, we can come out of any adversity.
Yeah.
So, gut-wrenching stuff, literally. And I think what's really important for us to remember is that when we're talking about intuition, we're talking about the bigger picture. We're talking about the consciousness that transcends all obstacles, and that willingness to follow the better feeling thoughts so that we can really rise above the intensity of emotion that can take us out if we let it.
Yeah. You said something I want to go back and anchor in for people, because you said God will never give us something without benefit. And many people will take that, what you said, and turn it around and say, God would never give me anything I couldn't handle. God just doesn't throw things at you because he wants to just see if you have the strength to handle it. It's not necessarily that. What you said was so profound, because it's about the benefit of what it offers us and where it moves us to because of the growth that we have.
Exactly. And that's exciting. The analogy I use is that we're all given a little garden plot in the universe. It's ours. We can do anything with it that we want. And it will always have a little corner that is difficult. And that's called a core wound. And we're here to transform that core wound. So I think this is really exciting news, because it's like, no, I'm not a schmuck. This was given to me, right? And so it takes it from victim consciousness to victor consciousness.
Yeah. You and I were raised exactly the same in our faith. We were both raised in a Mormon church, a Mormon faith with families. And you and I both, went to church all the time and Sundays, and our families believed, and, we believed in certain things. And as we both grew up, for years and years and years, I think I was 16 or 15 when I stopped going to church, and raised my children not going to church on a regular basis. So they really didn't have that religious circle that they were in. And through your years, you hid a lot of your gifts. And I'm wondering if there's a lot of our listeners that are hearing you today that have these gifts that they're afraid to show, because someone either might think they're different, might think they're weird, or might not accept that that's what their gifts are, especially if they were young. Like you were. I felt like you were younger when you had these gifts, and when you had that conversation with your mom. I don't think it didn't go that well, did it? If I remember correctly. So share, if you don't mind. We're not alone none of us are alone in when you're really tapping into your intuition and what God is telling you through his line of communication to you, what it is that you need to be doing. Many of us ignore that if it doesn't fit the scope of what we think the plan of our life should look like. And other people don't understand that either. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, well, it raises the question of fear, right? It's the fear that's underneath this. And fear is simply because it's not understood. There's too many assumptions. And so, yes, I was raised in a loving Christian family, not Mormon, but the fundamentalism of, this is the way it is. And so, yeah, my poor mom had the hardest time because, I taught Sunday school. I was the youth president. I was going to be a missionary. And so again, that angst when this great calling came to me was, I'll never forget this. I was at a retreat on top of a mountain, struggling with this. And I went outside to talk to God. And a mist came down the mountain, literally, and came and surrounded me. And I heard the voice, "This is who you thought I was. Let me show you who I really am." And so my relationship with what I call the divine is that each one of us is this divinity within. The whole message of the Christ consciousness that came that you might have joy and have it more abundantly. Christ, who thought it not robbery to be called equal with God. And so in evolving our faith, we begin to really accept this God essence within us. And that this is freedom. This is rising in the levels of consciousness. Now, because this is what I would say perhaps outside the rules of structure, unfortunately, I think there can be some closed minds and closed hearts. So that's where a lot of judgment can occur and, misunderstanding, massive misunderstanding. So what's the litmus test for all of this? The litmus test is, how much love am I emanating in my life? That's the litmus test. Because I tell you, we no matter what the faith or no matter what the religion, that will always be the measuring stick. That's the level of consciousness. And, in our workshop together, I talked about how do we calibrate levels of consciousness. And so you can measure where someone's at by how kind, forgiving, compassionate they are. And just because someone may believe or practice differently from you, be very careful with the judgment of calling that wrong.
That's right. Yeah. I was at a speech contest yesterday. I was a judge, and I've done this for 3 consecutive years now for children in elementary school. And this year they were asked to talk on the topic of what does this world need more of right now? The common denominator with every child was love and peace.
Yes.
And then they, went on to talk about, trees and trash and, some of the other pieces. I think one of the kids even talked on lithium batteries. It went that far. But love and peace. And as I sat there listening to all of these 14 children that lined up, and they didn't talk to each other about their speeches when they put them together, the common denominator was love and peace. These children at the ages of 8, 9, 10, 11 are all standing up there saying the world needs more love.
Exactly.
Well, that's because they're hearing and feeling and seeing that people don't love each other. And that is the one, like you said, the one ground common denominator that if our children want to go out and be recording artists or, voiceover, or they want to be gymnasts or whatever it is that they want to do in supporting their dreams, and trusting that God has their back and that they're listening to their intuition and their passion and love of what they want to do, and letting them and loving them and supporting them no matter what. And how was that support for you when you I know you had brought up all of your, all of this stuff is happening, Mom. I've got all these gifts and I can read things for people and I can see things and the other people can't see this stuff. God was giving, removing veils from your face and eyes to give you these visions for you to be able to guide the people that need to be guided here on this earth. He needs leaders in that area to do that work for him. What was that like?
Well, my mom and I, we were like, for a while. And It scared her. It really scared her. And so I had to take a step back and talk to my own heart and go, Cheryl, what are you doing? Have you reversed it and said, no, I'm right? So it was a very humbling experience. And we had many conversations over the years. And at the end of the day, it was so sweet. My mom said, Cheryl, if this is a gift from God, like you say it is, then you must do this.
You must.
And, I just really appreciate my mom. My mom and dad just had their 64th wedding anniversary. And I look back and, the values that they instilled in us, exactly what these kids are talking about, kindness, caring, generosity, helping someone. And so I have such peace in my relationship with both my parents, because even though they may not understand what I'm up to, they have such a deep-seated connection to God that they are expansive. So I really give them credit. This is not easy for folks who perhaps are older and have not been exposed to some of the things you and I have been exposed to. So again, the bottom line is that there's a bigger picture. There is a massive global awakening that is taking place. Yeah. And Colleen, what you so demonstrate is how to be a thought leader that is so authentic. We're all in this together. We need each other's support. And so I have a beautiful story to tell with my mom and dad, and I just really appreciate them as my parents. It's been a really wonderful experience.
Yeah. So today's topic is about how to hone your intuition. How there are so many individuals, as you've talked along the way, and what you went through and the prayers that you did, and there's so many individuals that don't listen. That's why there's this phrase called hindsight's 2020, because you can look back and go, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, like it's so clear to me now. But when I was in the moment, I didn't have the answer. It's having the answer that causes this kind of self-sabotage, the fear, the disbelief. It's these made up stories that we say to ourselves because we don't trust. We don't trust ourselves. And we allow the conversations around us to pull and push us and lead us where we think we should go. I appreciate the comment and the compliment that you gave me about being authentic, because at 36 years old, when I said, screw it, I'm just going to show up as me every day. I don't care if someone thinks I'm a good mom or a bad mom. I don't care if someone thinks I do a good job or a bad job. Like I'm going to do it the way I want to do it, because I trust myself. I trust that if I'm praying and I feel like it's the good, choice to make, then I need to make the right choice for myself. And frankly, I was exhausted, Cheryl. I was tired of trying to be all these things that other people thought I should be, and listening to their judgment and allowing all the labels to stick. And if it's a number one compliment I get from everybody everywhere that's ever met me, it's that one compliment. You're so authentic. And it's easy. And as I almost feel like I'm cheating, because it's so easy just to show up as me, because I don't know how to be anything but with that comes transparency. And with that, I come out and say, doesn't matter what you think about me. I trust myself. I trust where God's leading me. I trust what I have to give and what I have to say. And that's okay if you don't like it. There's, a billion other people that might.
Well, that's what I call being a good pirate, because a good pirate breaks the rules and doesn't follow conformity because that's the right thing to do. The good pirate goes deep inside and goes, what's inside of me? This hidden treasure chest that was given to me. And what you just said is the fire of change in the world. Yeah. That's the fire that will purge the planet and heal these core wounds that we're talking about, because it's your uniqueness. It's your special essence or genius or gift. And you're right. How hard do we make it on ourselves? It is exhausting if we don't just kind of face that fear and go, wait a minute. So when we're developing our intuition, the biggest thing is trusting yourself and giving yourself permission to go into the uncertainty and feel good about yourself in the uncertainty. So that's what I call the joy pain paradox, is it's uncomfortable to change.
Yeah.
So matey, can we make this change more fun? Can we make it more interesting? Can we make it more creative? It's going to happen anyways.
Yeah.
Are we going to go kicking and screaming the whole way? Or are we going to let go sooner and go, you know what, God, you're in charge. You're inside me. I'm going to listen to you. And I'm going to face the fear and this deep, gritty work. This is deep, gritty work. And it's worth the effort. Yeah. So in your community, then what you're doing is, and this is why I so, appreciate what you're up to, is let's go there. Let's find this power and let's use it and let's make this life count.
Yeah. You got to light it, right? And you got to keep it lit. And the way I keep it lit is by surrounding myself with like-minded people, surrounding myself with people that have positive attitudes, surrounding myself with people that are also showing up authentically or are working on showing up authentically. And no matter what, they just don't care. Right. So, we just had an event this past weekend in November, and you missed it, Cheryl. It was the best event ever. One thing I love about my client, Julie Jones, is that she shows up authentically as herself, no matter what, everywhere. And I had never been to a 2-day conference that was anything to the caliber of what she had done. She threw all the rules out of how it was going to run and how she was going to do things. And the very second day, you had to dress up in a costume. So everyone was asking me on Instagram, I saw a part of your speech here, but can I ask you, why were you in a karate gi when you were giving your speech from stage? I was like, number one, that was my karate gi. I am a black belt. Number two, it's the easiest thing I can pull out of my closet and dress up for costumes, right? Because I had it available. And luckily it was right after Halloween. So most of us had just worn some type of a costume, but she just brought authenticity to her, had about 50 people in the room for 2 straight days, and closed an enormous amount of business from her just being her, and so infectious that people can't help but want to be in her presence. It's amazing. And she broke all the rules of how conferences should run. You got to do it this way. You got to do your offer this way. You got to close this way. She was like, nah. Not going to do it.
Julie epitomizes the new way of doing business. Right?
She does. Yeah.
I wish I could have been there too at recent events. I understand now I wasn't there because of what's just happened with some family emergencies. But, again, and Julie and I have had so much fun. Like she's, we'll have calls together and I've got my pirate hat on and she's showing up as a squid and it's just hysterical. So, but she really, and as you both, you really demonstrate there's a wild, wonderful way of doing things. And it is intuition based because it's authentic, it's real. And it's what we were born for. So if we're not following that, number one, life just isn't as fun and abundant as it could be. And number two, I think if there's one thing that could really support anyone listening to this podcast, how do I develop my intuition more? I call it the power of the pause. Take some time out and just listen. We don't do enough of that. Listening and breathing, I call them the ABCs of intuition. So there's a movement happening. We can hear and feel this pulse. So let's go for it. Let's pull out all the stops. Let's be this authentic power that we are inside. And that can only come by having the courage to just stop, listen, and follow.
I love that. Thank you, Cheryl. Well, that was an amazing show today. And I would love for people to reach out to you. And I just know I need to know the easiest way. They have all the links at their fingertips and can click on those. But what is the number one way that you would prefer that people reach out to you? Is it on your website? Is it social media? What is the easiest way for that? And I know you have Akashic record readings that people can take advantage of. So what are we offering them today? What would you like them to do?
So what I'm offering anyone who mentions this podcast is book a complimentary Akashic reading with me. We'll go into the Akashic Records, which is basically the database of your soul. And as we go into the records, we find out, okay, how do you best support that core gift? And how do you best work with that core wound and make something spectacular out of your piece of the universe? So best way to reach me is I've got Calendly links on my website or social media. It's whatever's easiest for folks.
Awesome. And what is your website? Say that out loud.
Yeah, the website is theintuitivelife.com. I do have a Calendly link on the top, and social media, I'm out there too.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Cheryl, so much for being with us today. And I'm very, very grateful and humbled that you're my guest today on the show. And I love working with you. I love having you work with my clients. Again, everyone, you're the only you that's ever been. You're the only you, I'm talking to you, that will ever be. No one else can be you. That is like, to me, the funnest thing ever, that nobody can be me. I'm me. So get out there, hone in your intuition, and live the life that you designed for yourself. And it doesn't matter what other people think you should do or not do. Do what lights you up. What's your fire? What's your passion? What things have happened in your life that God has given you for a benefit, for you to be able to take that and change the lives of other people? So thank you, Cheryl, so much for being a guest on my show. Thank you for all of our loyal listeners for moving us to the top 3% global podcasts. I'm so excited for the thousands of daily downloads that we have every day. So thank you so much to all of you for being our loyal listeners. And again, make sure you go check out Cheryl and get your free Akashic record reading. It will blow you away. Cheryl is amazing at that. So thanks again. And to all of you, don't forget, be you and be strong. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery, where you learned the tools to create a life by design. Remember, you are the only you there is, and you are the only you that will ever be. Be you and be strong, because you are brilliant, and the world needs you at your best. We cannot wait for you to join us again next time.